I have been in the worst reading slump that I've ever been in my entire life. Reading usually isn't something that you should force yourself to do along with your regular hobbies, but I was like, you know what? It's been too long. It's time to strategize. So I have 2 stacks of books with me here, and I'm gonna go through them and let you see the kind of books that I hope to help me get out of these reading slump. I think this is kind of sick. I've never had this many good options for books in my grasp at one time. Like, girl, we have bangers on bangers on bangers, and I don't know where to start. Look at this stack. I have high hopes for this round of reading. Something is telling me that I absolutely should start with these Phaedra Patrick books because 1, they're really small, and 2, the chapters are not that long. So I think I want to start with either The Messy Lives of Book People or The Year of What If. I feel like The Year of What If would be perfect because it's angsty and it just feels like there's so much more on the line. So I think this is gonna be our first book of trying to get out of a reading slump. It's currently the next day and I have gotten 69 pages into The Year of What If. I think the story's progressing very well. For it to be 70 pages in and we're about to like kickstart the actual like synopsis that you read on the back of the book. Honestly, really good timing because I've read some books and they don't get to the point of the book like that you read of the synopsis until like 100 and some pages, and I'm just like, it's a 300-page novel. We don't need 100 pages for the rising action, 100 pages for the climax, and 100 pages for the falling action. Like, we don't need to be doing all that. I wish we saw more of Carla's sister Jess because she seems very relatable, funny, seems like the typical younger sister type of vibe, but you could tell there's some kind of tension in their relationship, and I think that's really fun and interesting. We're about to actually start the part of the book where she begins traveling to see her old lovers, and I definitely wasn't expecting so much guilt to be within Carla's conscience this far into the book in regards to her feelings towards her fiance that she's gonna marry in a month. This isn't including spoilers, but for example, he makes board games and that's what he wants to do with his life, and that's cool. I love that. Love the creativity, love engaging the entertainment. But I find it interesting, and I also like that the author found this interesting, the fact that he was willing to drop everything for a board game convention, but they were struggling to find time to go on their honeymoon. But he's willing to drop anything and everything in order to go to this convention to like support his dream. And of course, Carla's not gonna say anything and be like, oh, don't go, da da da. But as somebody who's like, if he wanted to, he would, I just found that crazy. And I'm glad Carla's also finding that crazy. And his excuse is like, oh, I want to make money so we can live such a good lifestyle like as a married couple, da da da. But my thing is like, you can't even find time to go on a honeymoon post-wedding, but you're dropping everything. Like within the 5 days of you finding out about this, not even 5 days, you are dropping everything to go to this convention. Or 69 pages in, I am like, Carla's my sister. Like, I will defend her through and through. I streamed tonight at 6:30. It's currently 5:15, and I got some food delivered. Well, I'm getting some ramen delivered because it's raining, it's vibey. I just want to cozy up with a good book and a good, fulfilling meal and enjoy my night. So I'm going to continue reading The Year of What If, and I will update you when I have something to say. It is the day after that I last updated you, and I'm officially on page 152. I'm on chapter 18. I really hope that we see some sort of character development from Carla very soon because she's very stagnant and nothing's really changing. She's officially in the part of her story where she is going and meeting new or re-meeting people that she was with at a point in her life, and that's fun. But I'm having more fun learning about these men than I am spending time with her, and maybe that's just how her character is like supposed to be. But as of right now, I'm kind of just like hoping we get to the next man faster, and it seems like we're getting down to the last 2 tarot cards, which represent the people that she is supposed to reignite like or refine that love with, and there's only 1 person left that she can remember. So it's interesting that there's only 1 person left but 2 cards, so I'm interested to see who's gonna be that second person that she doesn't remember. It was a very audiobook heavy day because I noticed I couldn't find myself reaching to pick this up, and that's a problem. As I'm reading / listening to this, I'm kind of realizing that I don't feel any type of big connection to the main character, Carla. I don't know if it's because she's in her 40s, she's been through a divorce and I haven't. I don't know, I just can't feel myself connecting to her. I felt out of like the 2 seconds that we were introduced and engaging with, I felt more connected to her sister Jess. Jess is younger, she's in her 20s. How are you the main character? And I like everybody outside of you. It's giving victorious. Oh, this is a very victorious cast-coded, stacked amount of characters. Now that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Carla is the Tori Vega. Her surrounding counterparts outshine her and seem more interesting because they just did the main character dirt. So far, I'm only 160 some pages in, so I can only say but so much, but so far, it's giving the Tori Vega treatment. No shade, just an observation. I finally was able to finish The Year of What If, and I have some thoughts. Overall, I think the book in itself is solid. I think the concept is solid. The theme of people from your past build up to who you are now is very solid. I think it's a very good message for a lot of the readers that probably will be reading this. I just think the execution necessarily wasn't my favorite, and I think that's just because it wasn't for me. I couldn't find myself relating a lot to Carla, like I said earlier in the video, but I think the age difference, her experiences just made it a little bit hard because I found it more interesting for her to revisit her old flames and flings than finding out who actually was the person she was supposed to meet. And I kind of feel like Revelation was a good one, but the execution of it was just not my favorite. It was a little bit lackluster. So maybe this would be a better book for somebody who hasn't yet had that revelation or is close to having that revelation. But I think the theme is overall really cute. I think it's really good. I think this book and I just weren't really a good match, especially for coming out of a reading slump, just because it did feel kind of slower in regards to the pacing in which I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be short chapters, quick to the point, because when you're in a reading slump, you kind of want to get to the point in a quick way and make you feel accomplished in the fastest way possible to get you hooked into another book. I think the pacing also has to deal with that. It happens over the course of literally like 2 weeks, and I don't know if that's the reason, but there were points in the book where it felt slower than others and then extremely fast-paced and rushed, and I think that might just have to deal with the writing style of the author. But overall, I think this book was just like okay. Like, I don't think it was the best thing to start with getting me out of a reading slump because of the pacing, because the characters, because the character arc. I don't think it was that great because I kind of had a feeling it was gonna end up where it was going to end up, and that's not a bad thing. You know, sometimes predictable is good in regards to digesting and getting back into a routine. Not my favorite book I've ever read. I would probably give this book like a 2.83 stars, and when I give something like a 3, it's simply like I feel like sometimes a 3 is like a really strong 3 or like a really weak 3, but I think this is just like a really okay 3 out of 5 stars. I'm glad I was able to finish it out and at least get in the habit of critiquing a book again. I am currently in between 2 books. One is probably a way easier read, and that is The Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest, and then also One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I just want to read Taylor Jenkins Reid because I miss her writing style. I also feel like a good romance would get me in the mood a lot faster than a Taylor Jenkins Reid book, because this is like, you know, it's like typical YA romance, like kicking my feet excited, like I'm ready to hop into the next romance, you know? I think I'm actually gonna start into The Neighbor Favor today, and we're gonna see how this goes. I have high hopes because it was a subscriber recommendation, so if I don't like it, I'm on that ass. I went and cleaned out a room for a different vlog that you guys will see / have seen already. I don't know when this is gonna go up, but I have some updates. I'm on chapter 11, aka page 202 since this morning. And when I tell you, this is the reason I love romance. I have not been able to put this down since I started reading this. I was criticizing the structure of the first like 60 pages earlier, but it really set the tone for the rest of the book. There is nuance. I love Lily's character. I love Nick's character. Nick's character has interesting lore and background, and there's like world building and understanding why he's acting the way he's acting. I love when childhood trauma comes into play in character development and acting the way they act, and the way that they describe it and intertwine it with his writing, so good. It got to the point where Nick has realized who Lily is because they have a history together, you know, the via email thing, and Lily doesn't know, but Nick does, and Nick is geeking out like, oh, I don't want a thing right now, because she has expressed how the last email relationship that she had ended badly, and she hopes that like he's not doing good. The whole time she does not know that she is talking to him, and I think it just adds a little bit more like gray areas, and like, should he tell her, should he not tell her, like what is it gonna mean for them in their future? Is she gonna be pissed that he knew and didn't tell her? So I think that's really getting me to read it more. Also, their chemistry is just off the charts. It's so good. I'm having such a fun time reading this. So I have about 183 pages left for this book. Also, something else I forgot to say, out of the 202 pages I've read so far, this is dual point of view, and if you don't know what that is, we get to see point of views from both Nick and Lily, and I really like how each of them don't have designated chapters. Sometimes in the middle of the chapters they switch point of view, sometimes for some chapters they don't switch, but I think they switch in regards to filling in certain blanks and giving more background as to why characters are acting the way they're acting. We can get more insight as like different progressions happen. I think it's a really good use. So far, this is probably one of the very few dual point of view books that I've read in a while in regards to romance. The progression and switching of the dual point of view with this makes absolutely so much sense, and it's so much more seamless than just switching every chapter because that's what's convenient. I have 183 pages left, and I honestly think at the rate that I am getting through this, I might be able to finish this today, if not early tomorrow, which is sick. I finished The Neighbor Favor in a record time. I finished this book in under 24 hours and I have some thoughts. First of all, I should have started this trying to get out of a reading slump, kind of reading marathon out with some romance, because I literally could not put this book down. I feel like the pacing just made all the time in the world in this book, and it made the book fly by and not feel like I was taking hours and hours and hours to finish it. I love the characters. I love Nick. I love Lily. They're such fun characters. I love how they brought two people that came from, sorry, Cashew was like playing with his toy on the couch and he's shaking the whole thing. I love how Christina Forrest was able to bring two characters with completely different familial backgrounds together and showed each other kind of the opposing sides of the like good childhood spectrum, if that makes sense, and showing how each of them kind of grow a fondness and more understanding of each other in that type of sense, and that helps explain why they act the way that they act. Chef's kiss. I will say there is a point in the story where I feel like there was a little bit of rushing when it came to the kind of climax, no pun intended. Chapter 20 is where some smut happens, and the way this smut happens is they finally have their final confrontation. She says, I want you. We knew this already. She wanted him. Have like this talk in the elevator, and then it goes from like being honest and open and just very vulnerable to each other, but at like a surface level thing, and the next thing you know, they're busting it down for a whole chapter. So that definitely caught me off guard. I had a feeling there would be some smut in this story, just simply because the way the author was describing some like kissing scenes that got a little heated. I thought since I was in the last 100 pages, nothing was gonna be happening, but they sure did in fact have sex, and there was smut in here. Specifically chapter 20. So if you don't read that, I would skip that. I feel like that chapter 19, 20, 21, specifically 19 and 20 felt a little bit rushed, considering Nick told Lily like who he was, like very randomly in my opinion, which I feel like is like kind of in line with this character thing, but I was just like, why would you do that? And based off that, I feel like there wasn't really much time like in between that and then next thing you know they're getting together, which isn't a problem, just the observation. Overall, I feel like the book was really fun. I think it was really true to itself. I think the characters were fun. For some reason, I kept visualizing Quinta Brunson as Lily. I don't know what that was about, but I could not visualize Nick in any type of way. Nobody was coming to mind. Usually I have a really bad habit of like a book will describe a character, but if I already have a character like visualized in my head, and they're usually celebrities, I will just visualize them when I'm reading books, and that's what happened. So Quinta, I keep seeing you as Lily. If you ever did a book to movie adaptation, real good. Would love to see you there. I think I'm gonna give it a 4 because I think this is the perfect balance of good chemistry, good character arcs, and everything feels like concluded at the end, and it's not all just about our main two characters. Our main two characters of course have their own plot line that involve each other, but they also have stuff outside of the relationship that matter, and like stuff that they have to deal with and get over outside of that, which I really like. The only reason I'm not giving it a 5 is because I feel like I'm gonna remember this, but I don't think it was like jaw-droppingly amazing. I just think it was fun, so I think a 4 is more justified here. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and tackle something that I have been wanting to tackle since I first picked up one of her books, and that is in fact Happy Place by Emily Henry. Now, I tried to read People We Meet on Vacation a few summers ago, and I DNF'd it 1 chapter in because I just wasn't like interested, but something tells me this is a really intense romance book and kind of a will they won't they, and since romance is really working for me right now, I think I should stick to the romance YA kind of section because it's fun. I love a will they won't they. I love the angst. I love character development. I love romantical development, so I think it's gonna be my next best choice. So I'm gonna go ahead and start reading Emily Henry, but I think I'm gonna do the audiobook to start because I am baking and cleaning up my house. I can't sit and read, which is really sad. Emily Henry, this is your redemption arc for me. This is the book that may or may not redeem you. I hear a lot of good things, but I also hear a lot of good things about another good questionable amount of books on TikTok. So it's actually, let me explain. In time that you are watching this, it's actually right after the last time that I spoke to you, but in real time, it has been over 10 days since I last spoke to you, and I am ready to give my final thoughts on Emily Henry's Happy Place. As you can see, you're probably wondering, Leah, how are you giving thoughts on a book and the bookmark is still in the book? I have taken 2 weeks to get through 8 chapters of this book, and for reference, that's only 82 pages. Actually, no, 88 pages. My bad. I've been audiobooking this book a lot, and I am just not enjoying it. I feel like this is having the same problem as the first book I read. It's giving Tori Vega syndrome. I am so much more interested in the main character's friends, and for some reason, I am just extremely bored reading this, and I feel super bad because this is the second Emily Henry book that I have felt this with. The first one was People Being on Vacation, also bored, like 20-30 pages in, and for some reason the same thing is happening here. So I'm taking the initial decision, because I'm supposed to be getting out of a reading slump, not getting put in one. I am DNFing this book. I'm not finishing this book. I have been contemplating. I literally took a day. I was like, I'm gonna take a day and finish this book. Why did I randomly start doing a bunch of tasks that I didn't need to do but was doing that just so I didn't have to sit down and read? It's not looking good for Miss Henry. Instead of finishing this book for this video, it's gonna make the reading slump worse, and I'm already kind of back in a mini one. To save myself the struggle, I am just not gonna finish it. So this is not able to be rated by me. So if something takes me 2 weeks to finish it and I basically do nothing majority of my time, that's a issue. Like, I think the way that the book is structured is cool, like going between back when Miss Girl met her man versus now, post breaking up and like engagement, everything like that. It's cool in that way, but I don't know. I don't really care. Like, and if I don't care 8 chapters in, that's a problem. So we're not finishing Happy Place. I just cannot get into Emily Henry as much as I try. Maybe I'll force myself for like a month straight to read nothing but Emily Henry. Apparently it's like a really, really slow burn, but the slow burn can't even be that slow because it's barely 400 pages. How slow can this possibly go? And instead, I'm gonna start The Silent Patient starting today or tomorrow. And I'm very excited to read it. If you aren't aware of what that book is, this lady randomly shoots her husband 5 times in the face and she never speaks again. My good friend Nicoya told me when I read The Silent Patient, it's gonna be so hard to find another book after that book because that book is just so good. Everything else is gonna seem lackluster and like kind of half-assed and everything like that. So it kind of made me not want to read it, but then I had another friend recommend it to me because she just finished it as well not too long ago. And I think that's another reason why I just haven't been as interested in reading Happy Place, because I wanted to read a book after this, but I also just wasn't the most excited to read this either, which you could probably tell. But yeah, I don't know what my beef is with Emily Henry's writing, but I mean, Colleen Hoover said Emily Henry's one of her favorite authors. So side eye. But then Taylor Jenkins Reid, whose writing I like, also said Emily Henry doesn't miss. So I don't really know what to do in that sense. So I just thought I should update you. It's been 2 weeks since I last read a full book and I'm feeling behind and like I want to enjoy my hobby, but I just can't because the books I keep picking. So this was a flop. Not really having it. I'm ready to start The Silent Patient. Any thoughts from the back?
I mean, you know, when it takes a little while to finish something, it's like, you know, ain't no point in finishing it, you know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's what I said. Let's discuss. I'm ready to speak my truth. I finished The Silent Patient last night and I started yesterday. When you saw me reading yesterday, I was on page 85 and I finished the rest of the book yesterday. So I guess you can say it hooked me from the beginning. First and foremost, I really like the writing style of Mr. Author. I really like the writing style of Mr. Author. It was really fun. It was very entertaining. I think the structure of the story was super engaging. Like, for example, there was a lot of letters from Alicia herself and the narrator, and then we figured out the narrator's life and how he became kind of effed up in the head as well. So I think that was kind of fun to see how somebody who had a really bad past came into a role that is wanting to help people. As somebody who was anticipating a plot twist because everybody was saying there's a plot twist in this book, when I came to the plot twist in this story, it was kind of gaggy, but as a retrospective and looking at the book overall, it was kind of expected. I didn't predict it in the slightest bit, but I feel like when it comes to psychological thrillers like this, you kind of expect things to kind of get twisted and turned and kind of be messed up in a way. So when the plot twist came, was I surprised? Yes. But looking at the book as a whole, was it really like astronomically extraordinary? No. I really liked the character development and learning more about Alicia. She was the most exciting part of this book. When it came to coming to part 4 specifically of this book, getting to really know what happened to Alicia, I really wasn't banging with how rushed it felt. I felt like the first 80% of the book was just a lot of build-up. The next like 10% was like earth-shattering information, and the last 10% was just like, what are we doing here? Like, this is kind of crazy. I feel like I did have too high of expectations going into this book because of everything that I've seen and heard from friends and just recommendations from subs and everything like that. So So my expectations were high for the book to be good. And I feel like a 3 is too low, but a 3.5 is also too low. So I'm gonna rate The Silent Patient a 3.75 out of 5 stars. I liked everything about the book, but I don't think it was a perfect read, which is what I think a 5-star would be. And for some reason, a 4-star just felt too heavy and too much for this book. It was a good book, very interesting, everything like that, but I just couldn't give it the 4 stars that I originally was going to. Some notable things that I thought were interesting. The wording in regards to what actually is going on was a little bit interesting, so it took me a couple rereads of a few pages to be like, oh, like I get it. Like I understood what was going on, but me trying to make sense of the timeline of like the events that were going on tripped me up a little bit. And I don't know if that's just because I was staying up late to read this. I feel like a lot of people who said The Silent Patient was a really good way to get out of a reading slump. I absolutely 100% believe you and understand where you were coming from, because I think I can successfully say I am officially out of my reading slump. Thank you, Silent Patient. You will always be famous. I'm actually really interested in reading the naturals now, and since it's fall, I'm really into the dark academia, thriller, horror, mystery, psychological thrillers, all of that. So if you have any dark academia or just fall cool themed books that you would love to read, definitely recommend them to me, because I think this is gonna be my next read. If you guys want any more book content or just book content integrated in my regular vlogs, please let me know. If you're interested in hanging out with me on the other corner of the internet, I have my social link down below. I have a Discord. I stream on Twitch 2 to 3 times a week. So with that being said, I hope you have an amazing morning, evening, night, wherever in the world. I hope to see you again soon, and I will see you later. Bye.